everybody, welcome back to Typical City. Real Madrid in 2025 have the intention of signing Rodri, and good luck with that, Real Madrid. 2025, the guy's got a contract until 2027. Typical Real Madrid tactics, because this is all coming out from the Spanish media, who very much have this arrogance, especially the Real Madrid publications. They have this arrogance about them, that the level of assumption that they can just get any player they want. Well, let me tell you right now, you might be able to bully other football clubs and steal their players through media tactics and little games being played in the media, but you're picking on the wrong club now when it comes to Manchester City, because we will go toe-to-toe with you, and we have everything and more of what Real Madrid have to offer, except the weather. That's about it, really. Other than that, we have everything to offer, and the future of Manchester City knows no bounds. We know where Real Madrid's ceiling is. It's pretty much at the top of football. There's no diminishing what Real Madrid have done historically. But what's the ceiling for Manchester City? We haven't seen it yet. We keep breaking record after record. So every single player that has a link away from the club, when it's been a big player, you go back to Aguero. He was linked with Real Madrid every year. Bernardo Silva was linked away from the club, with Barcelona and PSG being the main candidates for Bernardo Silva. He's still playing for Manchester City, scoring and assisting for us on a weekly basis, almost. Kevin De Bruyne has been linked with moves away from the club. These players ended up spending nearly a decade at Manchester City. David Silva, always linked with a move away from the club. Rodri's going to be the same. He's going to be the same. And when he moves, I feel like it'll be on Manchester City terms, not Real Madrid's terms. And that's the nature of Real Madrid. Now, this is coming from Fichajes and Diario, is the two publications which have very Diario is more like it, but no, it's a reputable publication, but has very strong links with Real Madrid. And it's the tactics that they do. They throw out the feelers, trying to find out if this player is attainable, sort of like poke the bear a little bit as well. And Manchester City being the bear, and Rodri being the player that could have his head turned, is what the hopes are, I think, in trying to turn and get the attention of Rodri. And we saw Carvajal singing Rodri's name, suggesting that he should be playing for Real Madrid. They have this arrogance about them, the media. And I mean, Real Madrid fans understandably have a level of arrogance about them because they've achieved so much in the game. I think those two go hand in hand. When you achieve what Real Madrid have achieved, that comes with a certain level of arrogance and assumptions that you can get these players. But you're taking on Manchester City now, who are your closest rivals. Maybe not domestically because we're not in the same country, but on the European stage, Manchester City are absolutely not eating at the same table as Real Madrid, and I would argue that they're the only two candidates eating at that table right now. The best two candidates eating at the top table of European football are Manchester City and Real Madrid. So what hope do we have of going to Real Madrid and saying, how long's Jude Bellingham got left on his contract? 3 or 4 years on his contract? Okay, we'll give you 100 million for him. Real Madrid will tell you to do one, mate. Do one. And we will tell Real Madrid, when they come to the heart of our midfield and ask to sign our best player, do one, mate. See you later. Not a cat in hell's chance of Real Madrid got in signing Rodri. Certainly not for any sort of fee around 100 million. With his market value being at 130 million. Let's have a look at his profile here right now. So, 28 years old. 130 million euro market value. Well, you're getting closer to 200 million euros, really, for a player of this quality. Knowing what he brings, knowing the win-to-loss ratio that Rodri brings, like, he just makes the team invincible. You just can't beat a side when Rodri's in the midfield. So why would we be thinking 130 million will justify a transfer for Rodri? Not a chance. If you're talking about 2025, when Real Madrid are reportedly going in strong for Rodri, and that's the transfer window when they're going to kick off this interest, he will still have 2 years on his contract left at that time. He will be a 29-year-old player entering into the peak of his career. I think if we could sign Rodri to a new contract, with rumours that was happening in summer as well, there were strong rumours coming out of the club that City were working on a new contract deal for Rodri to extend him beyond 2027. So I think Rodri will have a decision to make at some stage. Now, whether it's going to be waiting out that contract or not, and by the time that 2027 contract ends, he will be, 31, approaching 32? This is the age where injuries creep into your game. 31-year-old, 32 Rodri, I wouldn't have too much of a problem. The problem would be losing him for free and not commanding a big fee for him. If we could get him now or in 2025 for 180, 200 million, something like that for Rodri, but in 2027 we lose him for free. But the argument is what we get in those 2 years while he's still at Manchester City. What could we achieve while he's still at Manchester City? I mean, we only need to remind ourselves of the stats of just last season alone at Manchester City. 4,327 minutes, 9 goals and 14 assists from a defensive midfielder as well, with only 76 chances created. The guy's ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous. 93% passing accuracy as well. He's just like the perfect midfielder. He just epitomises, just like if you could just mould a midfielder. If you were a football god, which I believe I am actually, but if you were a football god, you could mould a player and that you wanted the perfect midfielder. You'd want him big, you'd want him physical, you'd want to be able to cover ground, which Rodri probably isn't his strongest point, but still he can do a reasonable job. You want ball retention, you'd like goals, you'd like defensive know-how. I mean, Rodri's got everything. He's got everything to his game, which is understandable why Real Madrid want him, but you've got the big blue wall of Manchester City to get through to even the way we're doing business right now as well. I just can't. Just look at the transfer policy of Manchester City, what we've done lately in the transfer market in terms of the signing of Savinho, the price we spend on these players, the fact that we were going for Guardiola and all summer it was 100 million, 100 million, 100 million, 70 million it ended up being. You know, people complaining about the money that we got for Alvarez. If we're getting 82 million for Alvarez, what the fuck do you think we're going to get for Rodri? You really think 130 million market value is going to cover the fee for Rodri when 82 million gets you Julian Alvarez? Not a chance, mate. And that was a forward. This is a defensive midfielder as well. That's the epicenter of our midfield. So important to us. And that was a forward that we sold for 82 million when we already have Haaland. So they knew we were in a selling position because we have the best player ahead of Alvarez already. So you know full well City, there's no way we're going to allow this to be going anywhere near that market value. It will be closer to double that if they want him in 2025. And I just don't think they do. I don't think they'll be able to achieve that. Now, for me, the only way this goes through is if Rodri forces a move. If Rodri himself puts his hand up and says, I just want to go. And I have a feeling that he's going to respect City too much for him to even do that. I think he will at least see out his contract. That's probably, for me, a worst case scenario, is seeing out his contract. I can't see him handing in a transfer request in the next 3 years. Certainly not in the next year. I think he'd stay beyond 2025 and respect the contract that he signed, which is what a lot of City players do. You only need to just look at the track record of our best and biggest players. They tend not to go anywhere. Now, you look at the managing situation. If Pep goes, I think that has a big say in what happens to Rodri. If Pep Guardiola was to leave Manchester City, I feel like that opens the door for a lot of players wanting to leave, unless a name comes in, that's a video for another day. What name could follow Pep Guardiola? That's a whole different subject. Because, I mean, there is no one that's going to be able to succeed to the level of Pep Guardiola. Not a chance. But you have to go through an accepting spell, an acceptance of there is going to be a little bit of a decline in Manchester City, but damage limitation and not allowing Rodri to leave. If Pep was to leave in 2025, again, rumours are that he's going to sign a new contract, Pep Guardiola, and I think if that happens, I think Rodri signs a new contract as well. And then all is hunky-dory at Manchester City. But if Pep goes, I think a lot of other players will start questioning their future at Manchester City, at least. But it's not the only situation in the world where, if Pep goes, we fall apart, because City have done an incredible job of laying down the foundations of a successful football club. And I think a lot of that could be achieved and maintained when Pep leaves. And I think that's going to happen. I think Manchester City have produced a very good contingency plan following on from Pep Guardiola, and I think that there will be that decline, but I also believe that City will be a well-established club that will continue to succeed after Pep Guardiola has gone. You only need to look at Real Madrid. They've continued to succeed. Right now, the idea of life without Carlo Ancelotti, don't forget this is his second spell as the Real Madrid manager, but they go through spells, Real Madrid, of having to find the right man for the job. You know, they got Solari in. He just flopped. He got a Club World Cup. Lopetegui, we were playing him the other day, and he's manager of West Ham. We beat him 3-1. He was Real Madrid manager from August to October. Do you know what I mean? Like, totally, like, mistake. It did not work out for him at Real Madrid. Rafa Benitez won nothing. You know, Real Madrid go through spells of managers where they have to find the right man. We may have to go through a little spell like that. But ultimately, the decision makers at Manchester City are the main reason for our success, because people forget we were successful before Pep. Mancini was winning trophies. Pellegrini was winning trophies. So we were successful before Pep, and we will very likely be successful after Pep. So the idea that Pep leaving means the club just crumbles and falls apart, a la Alex Ferguson at Manchester United, it's not going to happen. And I think this will be tied into it. The Rodri situation will be tied into Pep Guardiola's future as well. But Blues, what do you think about this news? Do you think, what fee would you ask for, first of all? That's the question I'd like to know. What fee do you think Real Madrid should be paying to sign Rodri in 2025? Would you be happy for Rodri to see out his contract and go to Real Madrid when he reaches 32, where injuries start playing a bigger role in his game and he might not be quite the same level as player as he is as a 28-year-old, you know? It's an interesting topic, but for me, I can't see this happening in 2025 because Manchester City just we have the playing cards. We're the ones in control of this situation, and I just can't see it. Get your comments in below. Let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.